Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Friday, November 7th, 2025. I, of course, am Hammer, the founder of Originator Success, Grab and Go Social, and Rate Sensei. All products to help you go out, get more loans. Definitely things you should check out heading into 2026. You can go to the websites, Originator Success, Grab and Go Social. I have to create a website for Rate Sensei. Not going to lie, I haven't done it yet. Anyway, remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, where we talk about what's going on in the mortgage business. If you're here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, go ahead, give me hashtag replay in the comments. If you would like a quick reminder text message that I'm going live, I send out a quick text message. You could sign up for that at hmmr.io/reminder or use the school QR code over here, and you can sign up. We don't abuse your trust with that. I just send you out some text messages about when I go live. So if you're here this morning, say good morning. We've got Mallory Fotiadis, Deb Dickinson, Megan Bissell, Yasmin, Mike Brown, James Mahan. Great to have all of you here this morning. If you're here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget, give me a hashtag replay. I'm going to jump in. Let's go ahead and get started. I want to tighten these up a little bit. I'm going to try some different formats over the next week. See if I about doing this. So anyway, jumping in with what's going on this morning, taking a look at the technicals. Let me pull up Presentify so I can go ahead and draw you some pictures here. All right, so taking a look here. Yesterday, mortgage-backed securities improved on the morning. Pricing came out right around 10 a.m., and they held those gains all day. Did not improve, didn't get any better, but certainly didn't get any worse. And this was a big, big sign. Now, the day before, on Wednesday, we had this red candlestick that you see right here. This red candlestick was a big problem, all right, that we saw that here. And it broke below this red 50-day moving average, which had been giving us some technical support. However, yesterday, this green candlestick that you see right here, we were back above, up here, above that 50-day moving average. And that was a good sign, because this had basically opened the door for shit to get real and for bonds to continue to go lower. And if that happens, that would have meant worse rates and worse pricing. So we actually have seen a really good scenario where things have gotten better over the last day. And that helped actually improve rate sheets to rate sheets, kind of the best that we saw since last week, basically. If we take a look here at rate sheets, yesterday we saw 6.29. That was an improvement of almost an eighth on some rate sheets. It was generally more pricing than actual rates improving, but that put us in the best position since right before Halloween, 6.27. Remember, this was the Fed meeting on 10/28. That was actually 10/29 was the Fed meeting. So 10/28 was the day before with the best pricing, as we knew we might see. And then this was during the Fed meeting. This was after the Fed meeting. So we'd seen kind of a little bit better pricing bringing us back to that Fed meeting, but it didn't bring us back to pre-Fed levels, 613, 619, 618, 617, did not see that. And in fact, this morning, we're pulling back away from that, currently minus 5 basis points on the day. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.10 bears watching as well. That was all the way up to 4.16. Yesterday went back down to 4.08, now back up to 4.10. 4.10 is a level that corresponds very closely with the 50-day moving average. We want to watch this. It's kind of a line in the sand. If we break above and close above 4.10, we could push all the way up further and see it go all the way to this green line, which is the 100-day moving average, and that's at 4.21 right now. So this would all be bad for what we want to see and bad for rates and pricing and all that stuff. There's really not a lot of expectation that we're going to see improvement from here. So I would be, I'm going to throw it up on the, I'll throw it up on the, nope, that's the wrong one. Here it is, lock advice. I have been in a locking stance the last couple of days. Yes, granted, if you locked on Wednesday, you would have missed Thursday's gains. depending on when you locked. We did issue a lock advice before we saw rates jump when we saw that on our texts. However, we would have certainly, if you locked in at 6.37 and the next day was 6.29, that's frustrating, but it's not the end of the world, especially when we look at where positions are and what we're going to see things do from here. So keep that in mind. Not really loving it. And then, so today, the other stuff I want to talk about, we're going to talk about hiding behind red tape, airline flight cuts. I want your opinion. Do you think they're for safety, or are they a pressure over the government shutdown? And then what happens to rates when the shutdown ends? So first things first, I know this one's going to catch me, especially on the written one. This one's going to catch me some grief from my Trump supporters that, listen, I know that SNAP gets abused, whatever, right? I'm just talking about the headlines that I see. I'm got to admit, I'm kind of done with this stuff. Like, it's even worse than it ever was, before Trump took office again, where everybody, anytime I say something, I get accused of having some kind of slant. And it's like everybody's defending or fighting over something. And I just don't give a shit. This is the reality of things. So the reason that all of this is even happening is not because anybody hates puppies or hates feeding kids. It's all about political jockeying and blaming the other side, creating pressure. This is all a game, and we're all pawns in this game. In these pawns right now is the SNAP benefits. What I'm talking about here specifically, and why I'm bringing this up, is these are the kinds of things that are going to pressure the government to end the shutdown. And I say the government, yes, it is mainly on the Democrats' side because the Republicans have the ball in their court. They have what they want. The Democrats are the ones that are basically trying to use leverage of the budget in order to facilitate other battles, which they already did give up, by the way. Now, I'm not overly educated on politics, but I'm pretty sure that the Democrats gave in on the America, the ACA, the Obamacare, the whatever that ACA is called, back when we did the big, beautiful, bloated bill. And they're trying to pull that stuff on now. So anyway, the SNAP benefits are a big thing. Judge says they must fund in full by today. The thing is, nobody's going to rush in, and nobody can lock up Trump and throw him in jail if he doesn't follow the order. So we know that this is not happening, and kids can't eat headlines. So this is going to create a lot of pressure. And again, this is even right here. Judge John McConnell said the administration violated the order he issued last week, required the government to tap emergency funds and expeditiously pay benefits under the SNAP program. The administration's lawyers notified the court it was appealing the order. The government said earlier it would use $4.65 billion in a contingency fund for partial payment of November benefits. And what they're doing is they're hiding behind red tape on this. By doing partial payments, they warned it could take several weeks or months. This is not my words. Several weeks or months for states to calculate and distribute the reduced payments. Come on, man. Come on, really? So this is the stuff. This is going to escalate the lockdown. The other thing, of course, that is escalating the lockdown is the airline cuts. Now, this was due, the FAA, but specifically it was the what's his name, the travel secretary, I forgot what his name is, Sean something. But basically, they're arguing that this is done for safety. What we haven't seen is you haven't seen a walkout of TSA. You haven't seen a walkout of air traffic control agents. I'm sure that there are some that have called in sick, but this almost feels to me like this was a play to put more pressure on everything. They want to create pain with the public. The shutdown has gone on for now the longest in history. The last one that was the last longest one was Trump's last time at president, right? So this time around, they're pushing all of this. And I think that this realistically, I don't think this has anything to do with safety because flights are already being canceled and delayed. I think it has to do with headlines and creating pressure on the Democrats to come to the table. Now, the Congress, the Senate, remember, this was actually already approved by the House, the budget. So the Senate needs to approve it, and then it would move forward. The Senate is supposed to be gone for the weekend, but they talked about that if there is momentum, that they will stay for the weekend, and we could have a lift in the shutdown. Here he is, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. We could have a lift in the shutdown this weekend if they go in that direction. There's no guarantee that it's going to happen, but we're starting to see enough argument here. The government wants to act quickly. It's already detected signs of strain in the U.S. aviation system as the shutdown drags on, Bedford said. Shutting down parts of our national airspace system is a dramatic and unprecedented step that demands more transparency. Says Rick Larson, the Democrat in the top house, whatever. He called FAA to immediately share the risk assessment data used to make the decision. They're still just arguing and pissing all over each other. But at the end of the day, we're going to see all of these things ramping up until they're getting close to a deal. And like many of you said, it's kind of scary that we don't miss the government other than paying some of our socialist programs and not paying paychecks to people who work for the government. Other stuff the government does, not nearly as it's still happening. So it's kind of, where we're at. So anyway, yeah, I'm with you. So let's go ahead and we got all that stuff out there. The lock advice is out there. I'm going to go ahead. Let's see what you guys have to say about some of this. I've seen a lot of the comments rolling in, and we'll kind of get over that. So Randy says we've never been more divided. Yeah, that's true. And I think technology and social media have a large part to do with that. Safety. Robert says safety. We all live in the philosophy of you don't pay, you don't stay. People not getting paid, they're not going to work. That is possibly true. But I do wonder about the data. And again, flights are already being canceled and delayed. So, there. Randy thinks it's leverage. I think it tends to do a little bit more on leverage. Jerry says, why hate politics? And I'm traveling twice next week, or actually, I'm sorry, I'm traveling next week and the week after. So I'm hoping they get all this stuff cleared away soon. But it is what it is. It will happen. This was used as a tool to rally the Democratic base during the election. It's simple. Just vote to open and get to work resolving issues. I'm doing a loan for airport workers. It's a problem at the airports. Reality check. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has to be creating issues. And as always, the people getting hurt are the people that have no control over any of this, and they're just pawns in the game. Robert said, with the government shutdown, none of them should be off until it's fixed. Absolutely. Not only that, but they should not be allowed to bathe, and they should not be allowed to have more than gruel and water. They shouldn't be allowed to go out to eat. They shouldn't have good food brought in. They should be put in a room and given oatmeal and beef jerky and lettuce, iceberg lettuce, the crappy lettuce. All right. And water. And that's it until they get all this done. And Donald Trump too. Him too. All of them. So anyway, that's it for that, y'all. Randy said if we can only all get along, at least we all get along here. And again, as far as what is this effect going to do for rate sheets? When this whole thing comes about, there's a chance for volatility. Remember, this spike that we saw, I didn't really know it until I was reading up a little bit more, but this big spike right here that we have where we broke below, this was because of the speculation coming out of the Supreme Court over Trump's tariffs not being done. And then the next day it all, there's other things. I had said that we wouldn't see a large effect on bonds because of this, because markets would know that they had other tricks up their sleeve to fall back on if SCOTUS says that the tariffs were, illegal, right? That they're unconstitutional. But it took markets. This was almost like a head fake. But look at the move that we saw when there was an expectation. As far as the Fed rate cuts, as far as the government shutdown, right now, market's still pricing in the expectation of a December Fed rate cut, even though a lot of different Fed members are saying, hey, we don't know that we're going to need to cut anymore. And that's what could change, right? If we get data showing however it's interpreted, all of a sudden we could see the expectation of a December Fed rate cut fall off the board. If this does drop and expectations of a December cut really move off the board, we're going to see rate sheets get worse. They're not going to go up into the 7s, but they're going to go back up to 6.5. We'll see a 1/4 point jump. If this drops, you're going to see a 1/4 point jump in rate. So if it drops, like let's say these switch places, right? So if this dropped down to 30%, an expectation of no cut was back up over 60%. You're going to see rates jump a quarter point. So that's what, there's really not a lot of potential for improvement here. Bonds aren't down a lot this morning, but they're certainly not really winning. And it just doesn't look like we're going to see rates continue to move much lower from here until we see something happen that's pushing bonds to improve. We've seen, if we see a flight to safety from some of these AI stocks and some potential stock weakness, it could help. But I don't know that that's there. So anyway, that's where we're at this morning. I hope y'all are having a great one. Yeah, Thomas said, funny how when a bill was brought to the floor holding back their pay, they voted no. Yeah, they could do that, right? Yeah, and it really has become a party system and not about the people. I'll tell you what, though, Fetterman, I don't agree with everything that Fetterman. He's the congressman from Pennsylvania. He's a Democrat. I don't agree with everything that he does or says. I think he's a little off the reservation. His sensitivity and what he wears, I think I think that if you're in Congress, you should dress up a little bit more. Even I would. But at the end of the day, the guy is the most level-headed one out there. And he's willing. He says, I represent all Pennsylvanians, not just the Democrats of Pennsylvania. And this guy gets it. And it's because he's not a career politician. He's a regular guy that ended up getting into politics. Not like AOC. AOC was a regular girl that got into politics, but then she got a taste of the celebrity, and now she's off the deep end. She's way too progressive and way too. A lot of her and she's not. I don't think she's that bright. A lot of the things she says, guys, I'm just gonna say it. I mean, I don't think she's that bright. If she were my daughter, I guess I'd be proud of her, but I kind of know her limits. Anyway, that's it for me, y'all. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. What are you doing this weekend? Let me know in the comments. I am getting ready to go spend some time at a Ura. In fact, let me pull up Airbnb and I will show you where I am going. This afternoon, I am headed out to enjoy. Where is my trips? Do I have to log in? Am I logged in? Log in. I got to log in so I can do my trips here. Continue with email. There we go. Logging into everything takes forever these days. Here you go. All right. So what are you doing? Let me know in the comments. Oh, let me get rid of the thing in the bottom. Hold on. Cancel. Unable to share screen. Oh, that's because I click here. Show this. All right. We'll put the lock advice along the bottom so at least it's a little less. Where are my trips? Trips. Oh, my goodness. Past trips. What about my current trips? What about my trip right now? Trips. There it is. They changed the menu. All right. So let me show you anyway. Doobie-doo. My wife and I like to do fun, odd type of Airbnb type things. So we're doing a yurt. This is a yurt. If you're not familiar, a yurt is a round teepee tent. And this is the yurt we'll be hanging out in this weekend and chilling and just getting away and enjoying each other's company and staying off my phone. So that's what I got going on this weekend. Let me know what you guys got going on this weekend. Thank you, Yasmin. I will have fun and be safe. Leroy Romero, thank you, sir. I will have one. Did anyone see MTG on The View? Is The View the TV show? I don't watch that. I don't know who MTG is. So I just want this shutdown to end. Yeah, me too. Mike Tebow, we lost our company health insurance when Obamacare started. Dude, the health insurance is such a broken system, and subsidizing it sounds like the noble thing to do. As a business owner who makes way too much money to get any kind of subsidy, I'm still against it because it's like student loans. It allows the insurance companies to charge exorbitant rates and get less scrutiny because of that. We're not fixing the problem. We're basically masking the problem. And we're using, tax funds, borrowed funds, whatever you want to say to pay that bill. Does it mean that I think people shouldn't have healthcare? Not at all. But I can tell you that people would make a lot less money than me have a lot better healthcare than I do. It's just the reality and the way that it is. The world is not a fair place. It's not a fair system. So Marge Taylor Greene. I'll have to Google it. I don't know who she is. So anyway, take care, everybody. I hope you have a great one. And last part, there's 28 of you on. Do me a favor. I am kicking around the idea of ending my lives. I'm tired. I've been doing this for 10 years. If I do it, I may change it up. I see about 30 of you consistently on here, and I love spending my time with you. But it's hard to argue that this is something that generates business because it doesn't reach enough people. I don't know. Let me know your feelings about the live. Send me a DM. You don't have to put it public, but send me a DM. Why do you watch? Would you miss it? What should I do different? Any ideas? I'm going to mess with it. I think I might even take a couple weeks off as I do some traveling over the next couple of weeks. I generally have not done that, but I may. I'm considering it. So, Yasmin, that's very sweet that you put no, but and it means a lot, and because it's going to come into play. If I do it, I have to figure out. Same advice I would give anyone else in this situation is how to make it profitable. It's got to, I don't do it right to make me money. And it doesn't do enough that, 30, 40 people watching it. I don't see a lot of replays anymore. So it shows that when it got long, a lot of us hang out and like it live, but the replays went down tremendously. So I just have to decide what I want to do and why. You guys know what it is. So I appreciate all of you. Again, I'm not looking for false kudos. I just need help with a decision. I'm tired. If I'm going to do it, I need to kind of revamp what I do and how I do and that kind of a thing. So, because it's a commitment, it's every day. It's every day. So, all right, my friends, I'll catch you guys on Monday. Have a fantastic one. I will be here on Monday, I promise. And then we'll go from there. So, thank you, Monica. I appreciate you sharing that. So my 30 power hour. So appreciate you, Robert. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.